back to Casey Creates. I'm Casey. Today I want to share with you a quick video on self-stuffed buttons. This particular type of button dates to the mid-13th century as dress silhouettes were becoming more form-fitting, thus requiring the wearer to have buttons or lacing to get in and out of their garments. You see this particular type of button across the board on all garments, all classes of garments, lower, middle, and upper class. You also see it on male and female garments, whether that is dresses, Cotehardies. There's lots and lots of evidence of this particular type of button. I am going to be putting these buttons on a hood that I've been working on. If you follow me on Instagram at Casey Creates with a K, I will link that down below for you. But if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen this particular hood that I'm working on. It's a red scalloped hood.
All right, so here's the buttons that we're going to be creating today. These are fabric self-stuffed buttons. The first thing that we're going to do is I have some plastic templates that were made for covered buttons. These are about 1.5 to 2 inches in diameter. I have some scrap fabric that we're going to be using. We're going to cut out our circles. I'm going to cut 6 of them because that's how many I need for this project. All right, once you have your once you have your circles cut out, you want to go ahead and thread a needle with about a forearm length of thread. In this particular video, I am using nylon thread. I had a little bit of an accident with some silk thread in an earlier shot of this that the thread broke on me several times, and out of frustration, I decided to go ahead and switch over to the nylon. So normally and historically, waxed linen thread would have been used, but this is what I have, so this is what I'm using. So you're going to take and run about 1/8 of an inch inside the edge of the circle, run a running stitch all the way around the circle. And I try to make sure that when I reach the end, I go ahead and make sure that the thread is on the tail is on the outside. All right, so next thing we're going to pull the thread taut. And this is going to turn this into a little, almost like a pouch. Then I'm going to flatten it out. This reminds me of quilters yo-yos. I don't know if you're familiar with those or not, but that's what I think of when I see these. So now that I have this flat, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to run it through the ridges, essentially right along the outside edge. This is going to allow me to pull this together one more time, thus creating a nicely stuffed button. And again, I'm just going to go one time around the circle, all the way back to where I started. And then once there, I am going to go ahead and pull the circle taut one more time, using my finger to push everything into the center, and then I use my fingers to roll it into a nice shaped ball. So once you have a nice ball worked up, what I do with my thread and my needle is I'm going to work it back and forth in a star-shaped pattern along the ridges on the outside. So everything that's pointing to the outside, I'm going to attempt to pull into the center. This is going to, again, just make a nicely well-rounded button. Now I'm going to continue working the needle back and forth several times until I have pulled everything together and I feel roughly, feel that it's good, a good tight button. And then I just tie a knot and knot it off, pull it nice and tight, and just kind of give it a work over with my fingers, making sure that everything is pulled together nicely. And there you have it. We have a nice round button. And I leave the tails attached. These are what I use to attach the button to the garment, which I will show you shortly. Alright, so we have our garment and we have our buttons. And as you can see, I have used pens to mark where I want to place the buttons. Now the thing about this type of button, instead of putting it on a placket or something like that, like a modern button, it actually goes right up to the edge of the garment itself. So we are going to be stitching these right on the edge of this hood. And honestly, the attachment process here is very simple. So I am just basically threading my needle and running the thread through the string at the base of the button. So where we use that star pattern and pulled the button tight, I am using that to anchor the button. Now when I run my thread through, I am leaving about 1/8 of an inch between the edge of the garment and the base of the button, because here in a minute I'm going to wrap the base of the button with the excess thread, creating a shank essentially, which is going to give it a little bit more stability. And then when it comes time to wrap it around the shank, I'm actually going to be creating almost like a knot, where I wrap the thread and then pull the needle through, tightening it down like a knot as I go. And I'm going to do that 3 or 4 times, and that is going to create a nice shank for me. And this is similar to the motion that you would make when making like a thread loop or something like that to give it stability. This is a very similar type of stitch. I tie it off right next to the edge of the fabric. And then I'm going to run the thread and the needle back into the fabric. I try to run it back in about 2 to 4 inches, and that's just to secure the thread inside the garment instead of having to cut it short. I would be afraid that way, if it does come loose, you do have some additional thread that you can re-tie it off with. Cut the thread at the edge of the fabric there where it is come out. And there you have it. That's all there is to attaching these buttons to a garment. So I'm going to go ahead and do the remaining 5 here.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I am always happy to answer any questions that you may have. Tell me what you're sewing, tell me what you're working on. I'd love to start a conversation with you. I hope that in the near future I'm going to be getting on to a better schedule of getting videos out to you more frequently. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Share this with your friends if you have anyone that you think might find this interesting. Yeah, thanks for joining us. I will see you all next time. Bye.